Jim DeMint is a former U.S. Senator, and now he's the head of the conservative group, the Heritage Foundation. And he was recently on a right-wing radio show, and he made some ridiculous comments about the topic of slavery. He said, quote, "Well, the reason the slaves were eventually freed was the Constitution. It was like the conscience of the American people. Unfortunately, there were some court decisions like Dred Scott and others that defined some people as property. But the Constitution kept calling us back to all men are created equal and we have inalienable rights in the minds of God. But a lot of the move to free the slaves came from the people. It did not come from the federal government. It came from a growing movement among the people, particularly people of faith. That this was wrong, people like Wilberforce, who persisted for years because of his faith and because of his love for people. So no liberal is going to win a debate that big government freed the slaves. In fact, it was Abraham Lincoln, the very first Republican, who took this on as a cause, and a lot of it was based on a love in his heart that comes from God." Okay, where do I begin with this? Let's try and break this down. Number one, all men are created equal and we have inalienable rights isn't in the Constitution. It's in the Declaration of Independence. And even then, he still butchered the wording of it. Number two, the idea that plenty of people of faith used their faith to argue, against slavery, the exact opposite is true. Many people use their religion to justify continuing slavery because it's in the Bible. Number three, the Constitution at the time was overtly pro-slavery. So, for example, there was the Three-Fifths Compromise, which said that slaves are three-fifths of a person. And there was this passage, quote, "No person held to service or labor in one state under the laws thereof, escaping into another, shall in consequence of any law or regulation therein be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up on claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due." In other words, that's their way of saying if there are any escaped slaves, you have to deliver them back to their owners and because they're still property. That was in the Constitution at the time. So how again was the Constitution against slavery? And then number four, yes, Jim, big government did free the slaves. They imposed on the South via a civil war and said, sorry, no more slavery. And then, of course, they passed the 13th Amendment. What he doesn't realize is that the exact opposite of what he's saying is true. See, his argument is, well, it wasn't big government that freed the slaves. What are you, crazy? It was the people, okay? Don't give credit to the government. It was the people, the states' rights, the folks. Actually, no, the people who were arguing for states' rights and smaller government, they would be on the Confederate side. They would be the people who were overtly pro-slavery.